Hi and welcome back to Jen's thinking about things and sharing their thoughts with you. I'm going to address in multiple parts, I think, the NDIS, the webinar that was on today, because I'm getting really tired. I'm disabled and I've had a very tough day. This is a very, very difficult thing for me to be processing. So I want to break it down into chunks, I think. And yeah, right off the bat, they start talking about trust. Let me see if I can play that part specifically. Oh, I don't, by the way, I don't have the video for the first part. I couldn't see, I didn't realize that I had it was blurry, and because I had the drop down menu down. And anyway, I didn't get the video, it's all blurry.
To explain how we got to where we are today, let me just start with the terms of reference for the NDIS review, which asked us primarily to do three things. First of all, to put people with disability back at the centre of the NDIS, to restore trust and confidence, and to ensure the long-term sustainability of the scheme in our review report. The legislation introduced into the Commonwealth Parliament last week sets up the framework for future implementation. It's what is termed enabling legislation. I also want to emphasise and say that I deeply understand that change is worrying, but I also want to reassure you that the proposed changes are necessary in order to achieve the objectives that were set out in our terms of reference. Budgets based on reasonable and necessary supports at the whole person level rather than line by line planning. Development of a clear and transparent process for setting budgets so they're consistent and fair. Flexible budgets so that people can tailor their funding to their individual needs, and a trust-based approach to plan management, but with clear powers for the agency to step in if funding is overspent or misused.
Thank you, James. Now, can you tell us a little more about the new definition of NDIS supports?
So the bill inserts a new definition of NDIS supports, which will provide clarity around what can be authorised as funded under the scheme. Currently, there is no definition in the Act, and this is an important change that links the constitutional basis for the scheme to access and planning arrangements and what types of supports are appropriately funded. The definition of NDIS supports is relevant when making access decisions, undertaking eligibility reassessments, approving a plan, determining what participants can and cannot spend their NDIS funding on.
Okay. So that statement right there should set off alarm bells, I think, for a lot of people. Like anytime anyone says it's the only way, it's like, no. And no, it's not. And because the terms of reference, like, start with trust. Okay. So if you're going to start to try to establish trust, but then you go into this idea that shifting, instead of the idea of reasonable and necessary supports, and they say, oh no, we haven't gotten rid of that. No, but listen, you've changed it, and damn well you have, very specifically in a way that is absolutely insidious, and it must be stopped. Because what you've done is you've decided to redefine it as an NDIS support. So the funding package is with respect to NDIS supports. The problem being, and it's just so painful because, as I've been saying in so many different ways, our funding, our scheme It's meant to be individual. It's meant to be ours. Our choice, our control, not NDIS support. NDIS funds our support choices. And that is being subverted very strongly by this proposal. And so absolutely he's wrong with this framework. So I'm not completely sure how the echo chamber effect has gotten so many what appear to be decent people believing so strongly that they're right about this, but you're wrong. It's not meant to be an NDIS support. It's meant to be our supports. Meaning, if we want to tell you our line by line or the thing by thing, or if we need to tell you how many hours or whatever, and then that needs to calculate an estimate with potentially like a little bit of flexibility in that buffer, even rather than having it be so tight that, we have to justify absolutely everything. It's a framework that allows for us to be wrong about what we're doing. That doesn't allow for them to be wrong and needing to learn about what it is that's going on. I mean, that's the thing is like, seriously, you want trust, you need to learn. You need to recognize where we are, what we've been through, and why that might require a bit of special attention. You need to stop acting like you understand more than we do, and you need to not start redefining the scheme in terms of the NDIS support and forcing registration and mandatory spending like on registered supports only. This is ridiculous. This is not choice and control. This is not inclusion. And I don't know how to better say that.